So we're going to talk about one of the best rom-com animes of summer 2023. The Dreaming Boy is Realist, which is not a good anime. The basic plot is Naruto falling in love with Sakura and then realizing he's simping way too hard for her and then decides to get a grip on himself and stop being so obsessed with her and then moving on. Still finding her attractive and all, but just giving her space so he doesn't come across as being creepy or obsessed, which is what everyone in the school thinks of him as. But the girl in question going as far as to say, in her own nice way, that she's going to get a restraining order if he doesn't stop. After almost getting hit from a soccer ball, yes, almost, he realized that he's been wasting his time. Funny enough, this is probably the most interesting scene of the entirety of the anime. Not even joking. But from this moment, he decides not to pursue her anymore. Does he completely shut down and become depressed like his sister or other classmates think he is? No, he acts normal. He greets her like everybody else, a good morning, how's your day, and then moves on, giving her personal space, talking to other girls, and doesn't bother her anymore unless she approaches him. But then Sakura and the rest of the school won't let him simply move on and think that there's something wrong with him now because he decided to just do what she said and not be such a freak. And this is the part I just didn't like. It's this point in the anime it's towards like if he doesn't like her, he's not himself. It's simply an insane concept. Like his personality just reminds me of like the first iterations of Kid Naruto and how he acted basically. But where this one differs is where everyone in his universe, they butt out of his business and respect his decision. Even his would-be wife Hinata basically butts out of his own decision and respects whatever choice he's gonna make. But here, you can't do that. You're just simply unable to do that here. And it made me feel like I'm just wasting my time, which is exactly what my friend told me. You're wasting your time when you're watching this anime. Next is the girl named Reena, using him as a way to make her boyfriend jealous, which isn't a good thing to do, by the way. Just pointing out that's not a good idea to use other people just to make one other person not so happy with you. It's pretty messed up to manipulate people, just saying. Then after hearing his story of why he fell in love with Aika, Reena understands and reconciles with Kazuki, that being her boyfriend at the time, and they move on. All that this tells me is that she was going to do that regardless, to be completely honest. She was more or less going to do that exact same thing regardless of his actual input into the show. Because her reasoning for breaking up with said boyfriend was just petty. Which, I mean, it's like probably high school, so yeah, you're not really that surprised, but I'm just gonna point out, it has nothing to do with why Sajou likes Aika. After that, Aika goes to his house to talk to him. She still rejects him, but acts like a tsundere now, with her developing feelings out of jealousy. Like, where do I begin with this one? It's the classic thing of you show her all the attention in the world, and she's not interested. But the moment other girls are interested in you, now she's interested. This is not necessarily her coming up with her own realization. It's more of her looking around and seeing that other people value this person, so I should probably value this person. That's what this is right here. Which, like I said, isn't necessarily good either. But from this point on, I thought their roles would switch, where Aika is going to be the one chasing after Sajou, and he's simply just moving on with his life and deciding that, hey, there are other people in the sea other than this one person. But it doesn't happen that way. She becomes more like a tsundere, but nothing more. With her, if anything, just acknowledging that he's around and is not that bad. With the arrival of Rin Shiomiya, in my opinion, is a much better option than Aika. Like, in every way. I'm sorry, she's just out the gate, probably just better. He's able to easily talk to this person and her friends, easily able to go sit down and talk to them for lunch, rather than being in his class with the other girl. She plays video games that he likes, wants him to join her club. Like, if anything, if I see this option in real life, I don't think anyone else would not pick this option. Like, even later down in the anime, he realizes that she's attractive too, so there's something there. It's like, in every way, sense of the word, she's just a better option. And the other thing is, you don't have to do this whole run around just to know if the said person likes you. It's not even gonna be hard. So, off the bat, she has like way more points than this main character girl. Not to mention, she's a better friend. Not to mention, she's actually a better friend for not only the main guy, but her actual other girlfriend, basically. She wants to know how to help them with their problems, spends more time outside to help them with said problems. With the other Aika girl, the main character girl, she's not doing any of that. She's actively avoiding them, if anything. She's actively trying not to hang out with her friends, basically. Another point for Rin, which is a pretty big point in general when thinking about this type of stuff. Sajou goes to talk to Rin, and Rin makes him a better person. Around Rin, he's able to have a good sense of people because he's not singularly focused on Aika now. He's able to actually multitask and do other things now. Even if it's just platonic, her relationship is just a positive reinforcement in his life, which is something you should be looking for anyways. Moving on, Hayata Yuki soon makes his arrival with him talking to Sajou under the guise that he has been doing this under a school matter, but this one is completely personal to him. He wants him to basically go talk to his sister and figure out what's wrong with her and solve the problem, because he believes that he's the problem basically with her. All is going back to him stop trying to go after Aika. All you need to know from this is that Hayata tried to do a personality test on Sajou and is mad his sister is particularly sad because Hayato feels indebted to Sajou's sister and he likes her, but he doesn't just say he likes her. All in all, I don't think it's his place to orchestrate a family meeting, like, at all. This entirety of the scene just irked me the wrong way. I probably can't really get out why necessarily in detail it irked me, but from both sides of Sajou's sister and Hayato, it irked me because it felt more or less they don't really care about what was going on with him, even though that's the pretense of their conversation of, oh, what's going on with Aika? They don't care. They are really selfishly trying to just figure out if they're the cause of it in some sort of way. His sister basically feels that she, in some runaround reason, is the reason why he's not trying to go after Aika anymore, because she gave him advice one time, which is the next scene. And Hayato doesn't care about him and his feelings at all. He just simply wants the girl that he likes to stop moping around, basically, or working herself too hard. Either way, both of them are just kind of selfish, and they don't really care about what he thinks in the situation. And when the said family talk starts, I don't like the dialogue, with Kaede giving him some good advice, albeit came from a very bad place of how it got there. Because, like I said, her talk with him was selfish. She was not really trying to help him in his feelings, but indirectly actually was good because it stopped him being obsessive and really just going down a creepy freak route. Because all in all, he was basically stalking her. Let's call it what it was. She was basically right, but her method of getting there and her message towards it made her feel guilty and caused her to have a breakdown. Like I said, I don't like how she thought she had this much control over his love life, because believe it or not, you don't play Cupid in another person's love life. You simply don't. You simply don't. But like I said, this is like a high school rom-com anime. I'm not very surprised with some of these emotions that people are feeling. That being said, it's a shame to give up on the girl he loves, basically, which is a solid point. What she's basically saying is that he's at this point, he hasn't tried hard enough to get the person that he likes. And this is the part where I'm just like, okay, so if the person you like doesn't like you, then what are you supposed to do? Be a stalker? Because that's basically what she's saying Sajou should be in this case. Sajou before this was getting to the point of obsession where it wasn't healthy, why everyone else thought it was a mutual thing. See, this is your problem, Japan. This is your problem right here. I'm gonna put like a picture of Japanese news of just weird stalker cases, because this is your problem. You think this is love. Luckily, this is a love anime where the characters can do a full reverse and like we will not even think about it. Oh my god. Okay. Sajou then feels the need to dye his hair for Aiko, with the rest of the episode being boring. The next episode is the customary sick episode that romance animes wouldn't stop throwing down your freaking throat at this point. If a rom-com didn't have this, then they just simply weren't a rom-com. which, because I'm not like a rom-com fan, this was just boring for me. We also meet the stereotypical blonde Westerner, who in this refers to Japan being the Western country. I don't know what that's all about. This character being some type of aristocrat, which I just simply needs to stop. I'm gonna be real with you just for a second. Like, this is a side note, but the whole aristocrat Western character, that don't exist anymore. Like, I don't know what Japan has with England and their love fest, but like, this gotta stop. All you need to know is that this girl wants to run for student council president or something like that for the first years, and this is the girl that he compares Aiko with and says that Aiko is cuter. I mean, I guess. I mean, if that was her purpose in the anime, just to say that Aiko looks cuter, you could have gotten one of the actual other characters that do more in the anime and just had him compare Aiko to them, like Rin or Fuka or whoever. The next better love interest arrives, that being Fuka's Sasaki. At his part-time job, he sees her little brother being bullied. After he's able to get them to stop doing so, he stops and he calls her so that she can come pick him up. She thanks him and then comes back to the store. The two of them start to kick it off and even go on a date. The problem is that he thought she was a college student because of how she looked, but she's actually on her last year of middle school, which is a huge shock. I don't really want to get into this, but I have to every time a character like this shows up in the anime. There's basically a 2 age year gap, but like a 1 grade difference. So I don't really see the problem, but someone's gonna have a problem with it. But when you already thought of this girl as, like I said, college student, this is definitely a huge bummer. 100%. Still, overall, I think she's a better option than Aiko. Just because, like I said, there's still more in common here than with Aiko. The problem with Aiko as a love interest character is, like, throughout the show, they never really show what they both enjoy. Like, at least with, like, say, Fuka, I know that both Fuka and Sajou both like books. They both have things readily in common that's beyond the surface level of us being classmates and being in class together. That's basically the bar with Aika. That is it. And if that's the only bar that puts those two together, like I said, a lot of other characters have better cases. The last character we want to talk about is Kei. Kei is Aiko's annoying best friend who tries to put Sajou with Aika. Doing this after noticing the changes in her friend when Sajou stops hanging out with them. She's a good friend for trying to help Aiko. If Sajou was a little bit more removed from the situation, then she would have a much harder time putting these two together. But still, she's the only character in the anime I can actually say is probably the love cupid of the show, because if she basically doesn't get involved with these two characters, they probably don't end up with each other again, because Aiko is too reserved to even try, and Sajou would be too obliviously trying to not be with her at all at this point. And he would have probably focused on, like I said, Fuka or the Rin girl. Either way, it's mainly Key's fault that we even have this anime. No matter what really happens in this rom-com, we already know that Sajou and Aiko are going to be getting back together with each other. And like I said, I feel like that's just simply a mistake. If anything, they could have made it a little more interesting of like, okay, make this a 2-season anime where we give the other girls a really good option or good chance to be with Sajou, as well as showing why Aiko actually likes the said guy. That's not purely selfish. As well as the same thing on Sajou's part. I don't know, a little more depth is all I'm saying. As well as throwing said audience for loops. Like, the problem with a lot of rom-coms and really romance animes in general, which is something I don't like, is the first girl that is introduced, or first boy that's introduced, is the said person the main character usually ends up with. And I think that's kind of a problem. I think, like I said, they could have just said Aika was the first girl and then switch it up. They have all this in between, and then he just says, I like said other girl more. We can still be friends. Literally, that's how probably the show should have ended. Because at that point, he could have realized that, man, maybe she's not it because of her reasoning of why she wants to be with me now. Same thing for said girl. Because by the end of the show, Aiko more or less realizes that she didn't really have a good reason to reject him in the first place. To be fair, like I said, he was annoying, but after that, she had no real good reason on her account why she didn't like him. Except for, say, popular opinion of her peers, essentially. All in all, not a very good rom-com anime in my opinion. It got kind of boring after the first episode.